Hey guys, real quick, I wanted to do a quick little session on why I chose counseling in hopes that maybe it might help someone who is in question about if counseling is right for them, if it's not right for them. I wanted to share my experience on how I ended up with counseling. Why did I choose counseling? I don't think that I chose counseling. I actually didn't choose counseling. Growing up, counseling wasn't something that was just introduced. I didn't see my parents doing counseling. I didn't really know too many of my friends or family members that were doing counseling, and if they were, it wasn't something that was just talked about. It wasn't until you know what? My parents did bring up counseling. They did bring up marriage counseling when it came time for me to be married when I was engaged. However, I did not take that wisdom. If I would have taken that wisdom of marriage counseling, then I probably would have bypassed all of the unnecessary things that happened in my life just during my marriage as a whole. A lot of the times we have the stigmas around counseling, the common sayings or the common phrases of, I don't need to talk to a stranger about what's going on. I know more about myself than anybody would know. I don't need anybody to help guide my life. And at that age, I felt like I knew everything. For me, I don't think it was a matter of not wanting to talk to a stranger about my life. If I'm being real, I think it was more so being scared of what that stranger would tell me about my life. At that time, being engaged, I wanted what I wanted. I wanted to be married. I felt like my time was ticking to have kids, and I didn't want anybody ruining that or being in the way of that. Honestly, I knew that if we saw a marriage counselor, that counselor would have told us that this was not the route to go. And that was my biggest fear. That was a fear that I did not want to face at the time. It was a fear that I did not want to recognize. I wanted to be married. I wanted what I wanted. And so, yes, I went against God's will for what He had planned for my life. I did not take the wisdom of my parents. I continued down the path that I wanted to go on. So, long story short, ended up in this marriage, experienced a lot, learned a lot as well. But anyways, God gives us free will. We want what we want, and we have to walk in everything that comes with that choice. And so I went ahead, got married, had my kids, and within that marriage, we ended up needing to do marriage counseling. Marriage counseling was the last step that we felt that we needed to take in order to try to save our marriage, and that was what we went in with every intention on how do we preserve our marriage. We did counseling for about 5 to 6 months. Within that time frame, we learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about what we weren't doing, what we weren't providing. The thing that hit the hardest for me was when our counselor did a specific test to show our characteristics and our traits and where we were at in the relationship. So we both did this test individually. We came back for our next session, and it was told to the both of us where we were at on this scale in regards to self-esteem based on our characteristic traits of the relationship. Unfortunately, my place on the graph was at this point non-existent. I was barely on the graph. The other person's status on the graph was over the Richter, over the top. That's when I started to wake up from the things that were happening. He started to work with us as a team, but as he was continuing to point out certain traits, the other person unfortunately decided not to continue. My ex-husband just wasn't ready to heal at that time. And, just being understanding of people in different spaces, sometimes, something is introduced and sometimes we're just not ready for that. But the hope is always that at some point in time, people do go and identify the different things that are going on with them or the different traumas they've experienced, just so it gives them a better understanding and a better support on how to be their best versions of themselves. In that moment for me, though, I felt like healing needed to take place. As a woman, I'm like, how am I this low on the self-esteem pole and I have a daughter? Like, how am I going to show her what strength is? How am I going to be able to lead her if I don't even have that ability to lead for myself? It has been 4 years since I have been working with my counselor, and the growth that I have seen within myself, if we were to do that test now, and I probably will have him do that test with me soon, because I'm curious to see where my self-esteem lands. It's so disheartening, and I cried for days knowing that this was not something that was made up. This was something that I took a test on, and these were my results. My results were at basically a 0. And that hit hard for me. It hit hard enough for me to start my journey in healing. Throughout that journey, I was able to identify so many traumas and triggers that I wasn't even aware of. Counseling has brought me through my hardest times. Counseling has brought me to the space to where I am now, to where I can identify depression, gaslighting. I can identify so many different things, and I can support other people in doing that. I look forward to my counseling sessions. The biggest thing for counseling is a non-negotiable for me. I do believe that God will connect you to the right counselor if you ask him. And at that time, I didn't even ask. I was just randomly choosing somebody so that we can get the help and support that we needed. And so what started off with marriage counseling ended up being my 4 years in individual counselor. I have clarity. I have peace of mind. I'm able to let things go. I was able to grieve. I was able to see what and learn what grief was in a whole different way. We think of grief and loss as losing a person, but he helped me to identify that even in the divorce, the grief of losing a person, losing a relationship, losing everything that came with that. It helped me to build in those tools that I needed physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually to get through that process. And sometimes that's what God will do. He will put specific people in your life to guide you, to give you wisdom in that moment that you need it the most. And I'm just so grateful for my counselor, for counseling. And also know this, like, you're not limited to a specific counselor. You always have the option on what you feel comfortable with, because that is going to be a big part of how you grow, how you release, and what your vulnerability is going to be. Counseling requires vulnerability to expose the pieces that are broken. It exposes the pieces that need to be healed inside of you. And being exposed is going to feel very uncomfortable, but we have to work through uncomfortability in order to get comfortable, in order to get healthy, in order to be able to navigate this journey of life that we are on. And so hopefully this hits for somebody. Like I said, if you have any questions about counseling, like, I am an open book. Counseling has definitely shaped my life for who I am and where I am right now. 4 years ago, I probably would be nowhere near a platform just sharing my story. I was broken at the time of counseling. I cried all the time in counseling, and now I can firmly have a conversation about where I am today. So hopefully this helps. Bye.